Wilds, Lauren Wild, the Church Witch here. Just going to do our quick astro forecast for the week of July 6th through the 13th, so from Monday to Monday. Make sure that you check out the Mystic Musings for this week. I was using the Animal Spirit deck. And let's go ahead and drop straight in. This is going to be a shorter Mystic Musing where I just kind of like drop into the energetics of it. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and post them below. I'm going to try to keep this to 10 minutes or less so that I can post it on Instagram and it actually stay within the feed. So, okay, like dropping straight into this week, we are still coming down off of the full moon eclipse at 13 degrees of Capricorn. So this eclipse was really bringing the end to the 2-year nodal axis story of Cancer North Node and Capricorn South Node. Now, the last time that this specific major confluence that happened in Capricorn was 500 years ago. Now, if you go back to like my posts, especially last year, I mean, I ranted about this confluence, and now we're like actually in it. And so essentially what happens is that Pluto is power and deep transformation from like the most intense layers. So Pluto rules volcanoes. And so volcanoes, you know, take 200 to 300 years to get to the place where they have enough I just tried to blend carbon and karmic, which was carbic. It's kind of a mix. It's true though. I mean, there's definitely karma involved in there. It's 248 years worth of karma, but it's also carbon emissions, right? And so the volcano is like, it takes, you know, 200, 300 years to erupt, but and that's Pluto. It's very slow moving, but it's very, very persistent in pulling things up from the surface. And it's in Capricorn. And Capricorn, it rules big government. It rules, you know, Wall Street and tradition. And so what happens with Pluto is that, yeah, it may take 200, 300 years to see the change, but that eruption can change an environment in a snap, right? And so Pluto is power, pure power. It's up to the individual as to like what their motivations are, as to whether they're going to use it for good or for not so good, right? But what's really dictating that in the future is Saturn and Aquarius. Aquarius is unilevel society. It is it's very new age, and it's very like information driven. It's knowledge driven. Whereas Capricorn is like information driven, but it's more legalistic. It is more traditional in the way that it wants to do things. Saturn rules Capricorn, and Saturn happens to be the archetype of the devil. All right, and so I don't mean devil as in like, you know, the horny devil that is like in, you know, a lot of evangelical Christian thought process, but I mean the devil as the ego, the humanity, okay? So like the aspect of time, which is very human construct, matter, right? We are these souls, these infinite beings that are very constricted by matter and 3D energy in Capricorn. Well, Aquarius, you know, is the archetype of the star. And we are watching all of this new star nations energy come through, as well as Taurus landing, Uranus landing in Taurus, which is the initiation of 4D consciousness, right? So we are in this ascension process. And essentially what's happening is that we are seeing Saturn, which is all about breaking down things to make them stronger, in Aquarius, which is this very driven towards, you know, unilevel society and freedom of the utmost, and then the community, right? Saturn is restriction, so we see the restriction of community. So like now we're watching Pluto, which is retrograde and is also in a conjunction to Jupiter retrograde around 24 degrees of Capricorn. And so we're kind of like watching like what's shifting here. We've also got Mars moving into Aries, early degrees of Aries, which is going to station retrograde in September. And it's God of War meets war, right? Like if you do not learn how to channel this energy well, you're just going to get pissed and burn down your worlds, all right? And the whole point of astrology in this group, choice-centered esoteric astrology, is consciousness, right? It's not just to be like, I'm fated to my stars. It is like, you now have a mirror to reflect back to you. Are you going to continue to choose this story or not, right? Like, that's up to you. Whatever you choose to do is on you. But essentially, the consciousness brings you the opportunity to name it and therefore heal it, right? So what's happening this week is that today, the moon is in Aquarius, moved into Aquarius around 8 a.m. this morning. Aquarius is brilliant, but also very emotionally detached, right? Aquarius is kind of like the alien of the zodiac. Very, very smart, but can be very emotionally or humanly detached, okay? And so we're looking at that for the next 2 days, but it's a great time to get shit done, okay? We're gonna have lots of opportunities to get shit done, especially this weekend, when we get this aspect of that. I'll get to it in a minute. Let's get to Wednesday though. All right, Wednesday is going to be an interesting day for the collective, because Wednesday is when the moon moves into Pisces. It's going to start to wane down to that crescent energy, and waning energy is always the release. All right, so the waxing energy, when the moon moves from the new moon to the full moon, it is like we're gaining energy. Like, we're very exoteric, like we're very like, you know, driven to do things. But as the moon starts to wane down, if you are attuned to the moon, then we all naturally start to draw into this more individualistic, contemplative space where we're trying to decide if we want to keep it or not, right? And so what the moon is going to do on Wednesday is move into Pisces, and it's really going to give us a check-in point, because it's also going to come in an aspect to Neptune, which is very early in its retrograde in Pisces as well, okay? So we have Sun in Cancer, which is all the feels, all the emotion, all the drive for security. And then we also have this aspect where it, like, Neptune is going to come into, the moon is going to move into Pisces, and I believe it's going to square Neptune in Pisces. And so it's going to be, sorry, no, I'm getting that all wrong. Hold on. Sorry. Mercury retrograde brain. So what we are looking at on Wednesday is the moon moving into Pisces. And within about 18 hours after it moving in there, we're going to start to see the moon come into conjunction with Neptune retrograde in Pisces. Sorry, my brain is a little fried from today. Had to do a lot of adulting today, but we're here. We're going to move through it. But regardless, with the sun in Cancer, we're looking at a really emotional day. So this is a day of healing. This is a day of crying and releasing and feeling emotional. And so it's important, though, to understand that sometimes Pisces can go back to old things because of the nostalgia. So, you know, use the Mars and Aries to really decide what you want to do here. With the eclipse this week, we're really closing old chapters. We're not going back to old stories just because we know them and they feel safe. All right, like that's the mantra that I'm using this week as I'm closing, you know, out on my house and I'm signing my papers. Like, it's like, just because we're emotional and we're sad doesn't mean that everything XYZ didn't happen for the last 2 years or 20 years. We're starting new chapters. Okay, what is the chapter that you're going to write moving ahead? One of my teacher always asked me, like, you know, Lauren, imagine that you are sitting down to write the 13th chapter of your life. What would you name the title of that chapter? And maybe that'd be a good ritual for you to help you kind of like remember to move towards your North Star, which is where you're going, not where you've been. That doesn't mean we can't reflect and appreciate where we've been. We do need to integrate those previous versions of selves. But it's really easy in Pisces energy to just get very nostalgic and sentimental, and bypass all the red flags to be in what feels comfortable. Okay. Now, as we move and progress through the week, the moon is going to move into Aries, and that's going to give us a lot of energy. The moon is going to come in the last quarter on, I believe, Saturday, and it's going to come into 21 degrees last quarter, which is going to square that Pluto Jupiter retrograde at 24 degrees in Capricorn. It's going to be an interesting day, okay? It's going to give you a lot of drive, but Pluto can definitely be, it could be darker. I mean, he's not known as the Lord of the Underworld for no reason. And then, so we have, you know, Mars and Aries, like God of War and Lord of the Underworld. And then we've got Eris in there as well. It's going to be an interesting weekend for the collective. I'm interested to see what that's going to manifest as. But regardless, be conscious about the choices that you make. Don't cut corners, because the universe is going to honor unilevel equality society. It is not going to honor those that cut corners and take advantage of the marginalized. It just isn't. That's just not in the cards right now. So be mindful about the choices you make over the weekend. Tell the truth. Definitely tell the truth. Be brave and tell the truth. And then on Sunday, Mercury is going to station direct. 5 degrees of Cancer, hallelujah. That means that Venus is direct, Mercury will be direct. Like all the damn emotions can start to feel a little bit more concrete. However, anytime that a planet stations direct, you want to look at, the retro shade period, which is, we're really not going to get out of what feels like the past until about June or July 29th, which is when Venus is out of its retro shade. And I would give that about the same thing for Mercury. So for me, I don't feel like anything's going to be concrete until August. It's a lot of revision, a lot of revising, a lot of clarity pieces. Decide what you really want here, okay? But regardless, Mercury is going to be direct on Sunday. Typically with Mercury, you see the biggest changes or the biggest things go down about 3 or 4 days before it and about 3 or 4 days after, all right? So this week is pay attention. Mercury in Cancer is all about emotional health. It's about relationships with the mother. It is about relationships with your body and your intuition, your gut instinct, trauma body as well. So pay attention. Those things could definitely come up, especially if you are an empath, which if you are in this group or a follower of mine, you're most likely going to be an empath, right? So just be mindful of those things. My big recommendation, salt bath on Wednesday, okay? Try to recreate the ocean. Get as much salt in there as you can and ritualize a bath and just cry it out, let it go, all right? We're just letting shit go. Don't get stuck in the belief that it's just over. See if you can start to direct your energy towards how you're going to recreate the next chapter, the next version of you, right? Where's that North Star, okay? Then I believe that's it for the big aspects of the planetary aspects of this coming week. I would say that the biggest thing is just know that Mars in Aries is so much energy, okay? And we still have a ton of planets retrograde, but we have planets retrograde, every year this time of the year. The major planets go retrograde during the summer every year. The biggest thing that's different about 2020 is that Pluto, Capricorn, South Node confluence, which is pulling up 500 years of bullshit for us to deal with as a collective and heal through it, right? And then also the fact that Venus stationed retrograde this year, which only happens every 2 years, and Mars is going to station retrograde this year, which happens only every 2 years. So it's really bringing up the energy around relationships with ourselves, with monies, with values, and then also how we're going to take action in our lives, right? So it's just be mindful to direct that Mars energy towards something you really want to do. You're going to feel literally hot in your body. So it's get in water, cool down. I have an Aries moon, so I live by the mantra of response versus react. It's really easy for people to be reactionary and very, very aggressive and impulsive with Mars and Aries, and the fact it's going to be there for 6 months, we gotta be conscious about all that energy. So hopefully this serves you guys well. If you guys are in the Wild Hearts Coven, we are about to go live here in about 45 minutes. So I'm gonna pop off so that I can start prepping for that, but I just wanted to catch you guys up. If you are interested in joining the Wild Hearts Coven, it's $33 a month on my Patreon, patreon.com/LaurenWild. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Okay, bye.